So it's opening weekend of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I got a chance to see the film a couple nights ago. I'm very excited to discuss my spoiler-free thoughts on the film and talk about what Oscar odds this movie might have at next year's ceremony. So first up, the pros. I went into this movie with low expectations. Most of the critics I follow were giving this movie either modest praise or they just weren't liking it. They were calling it a disappointment. So I just had a vibe going in. I was like, this probably will be one of the weaker Marvel movies, but hopefully I'll enjoy it anyway. Here's my take on the new Doctor Strange. This, for me, is one of the best Marvel movies I have ever seen. I found this to be a great time at the movies. There was not a single second of this film where I was bored. I thought the performances were fantastic, and overall, I'd say the biggest pro for me is that in many ways, this felt like one of the few Marvel movies to get a genuine stamp from the director, Sam Raimi, who I have loved since I was a kid when I first saw The Evil Dead and going into his adult fare, like A Simple Plan, and then his 3 Spider-Man movies, and Drag Me to Hell, which I just absolutely adore. I feel like, as great as many of the Marvel movies are, you don't really get a feel for the director on many of them, and that was not the case with the new Doctor Strange. From beginning to end, you could feel like this was a Sam Raimi movie. And that's not just because it really is the first Marvel horror film. I know a couple people had said that, and I'm like, yeah, right. It truly is. I mean, there are at least 3 jump scares that really worked. And there were moments where I turned to my friend who I was watching this with. I was like, is this movie appropriate for kids? Like, a lot of children are going to see this. This is much more intense, much scarier than I feel any other Marvel movie that's ever been made, especially in the second half. I really enjoyed all the cameos. I didn't feel like it overdid it. Like sometimes you're watching a new Marvel movie and it's like every 10 minutes you get a cameo from someone, and I feel like there were just enough in this one. Every 30, 40 minutes you get something kind of exciting, but it wasn't overdone. I admired that. I love that we got a lot of Rachel McAdams. I wasn't sure how much of this movie she was going to be in. I found the relationship between Christine and Steven one of the high points of the 2016 Doctor Strange, and I thought that carried over into this movie really well. The other big pro for me in this movie was the performance by Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda, as Scarlet Witch. She is on another level in this. I really, really enjoyed her performance in WandaVision last year, and this is a different side to her character in many ways than what we've seen before. Elizabeth Olsen is an actress I've admired from the beginning of her career, and she is great in this. She's giving vibes of Sissy Spacek in Carrie at one point, and I just had a huge grin on my face. I just thought, this is so cool. We get so many Marvel movies, and some are better than others. Some, to me, kind of feel similar to the last and don't give us really anything new. And with the new Doctor Strange, that just wasn't the case. I felt like I was seeing a Marvel movie I hadn't really witnessed before. A big reason this one worked so well for me was the performance of Elizabeth Olsen. I thought she was terrific in this. I don't know what comes next for her character, but more Elizabeth Olsen in the Marvel Universe, please. Thank you. Next, the cons. I mean, I guess if there's one big con of this movie, it's that, for me, it was a great thrill ride for all 2 hours. I really enjoyed it. In the hours after having seen the movie, it doesn't have as much resonance as some of the other great Marvel movies that I have enjoyed throughout the years. I feel like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is one of those that is really fun as you're watching it, but in the days that follow, you're not necessarily going to be thinking about it as much. I mean, I was thinking about Avengers Endgame for weeks after having watched it. So for me, the big con with the movie is that it doesn't have the lasting impact of some of the other ones. But I was like looking for things to not like. I mean, I saw people on Twitter ranking this dead last in their ranking of Marvel movies. And about halfway through, I'm like, I don't understand that. I know some people are having issues with the narrative, some of the character motivations, some of the arcs. I can kind of see that, but as a casual fan of the Marvel movies, I just was so entertained all the way through. Some of the other Marvel movies have bored me, and that wasn't the case with this one. I really enjoyed it. It is kind of a thrill ride. It's not one you're thinking about as much in the days after, but that's okay for this one. I just had a great time. So finally, that takes me to Oscar odds. This one's a tricky one. In the last Oscar odds video, I talked about The Batman. At the time, I predicted that The Batman would get in for makeup and hairstyling and sound. The more I think about it now, weeks having recorded that, I feel like it might even get in for cinematography, since that is the same cinematographer as Dune. I feel like The Batman has a shot at getting into at least 2 or 3 categories. Marvel movies don't do very well with the Oscars. If you look back the last few years, the one breakthrough was Black Panther, which got into picture. I remember Avengers Endgame was so successful and so many people love that movie. That is my personal favorite Marvel movie. It doesn't work so well on its own, I guess, but that was just an extraordinary finale to 10 years of stories and movies, and that to me is the one really great Marvel film from beginning to end. And even that did not get into picture or any of the top categories. Avengers Endgame only got in for visual effects. Most Marvel movies, if they get into the Oscars, it's for visual effects. Such was the case last year. Spider-Man No Way Home was the biggest movie of 2021. There was talk of that getting into picture, potentially, other big categories. It only got in for visual effects. Shang-Chi got in for visual effects. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness being an early release in the year, a May release. The reviews of this one are not as great as some other ones, even though I really enjoyed the movie. I think there's only one category it could get in, and I am going to say right now that it does. I really do think that the visual effects is the other big pro of the new Doctor Strange I didn't talk about before. The look of this film is really spectacular, and almost every scene there is just extraordinary visual effects. There is a scene in this movie where Steven and America are flying through 15, 20 different multiverses in one long shot that was really stunning to me. That was not just, another cool Marvel visual effect. It was really spectacular. It blends animation with live action, with CGI, and it's just beautiful. And there's a lot of that in this movie. The visual effects in this film are pretty amazing. Now, we all know what's going to win Best Visual Effects next year. The Oscar for Best Visual Effects will be going to Avatar 2. I don't think anyone is going to dispute that. I can't imagine anything beating the next Avatar. But I do think visual effects is one of those technical categories where the release date of the movie doesn't matter as much. I don't think they care if this comes out in May versus December. I don't think that helps or hurts the movie in any way. The first Doctor Strange movie from 2016, that got a nomination for visual effects. I think the visual effects in this new Doctor Strange are even better and even more impressive. And I don't see anything on the calendar that necessarily tells me, there's going to be another 5, 6, 7 movies that will be competing for visual effects, and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness will be pushed to the side. I don't see that happening. I feel like this one might have a better shot at getting a visual effects nomination over the next Thor movie. I don't see the new Doctor Strange getting anything else. I think if it gets one nomination, like with so many Marvel movies in the past, it will be for visual effects. I think this one can do it. I really like this movie. I know a lot of people are hating on it, are ranking it low. This, for me, in terms of just pure entertainment value, this was one of the most entertaining Marvel movies I've ever seen. I really enjoyed myself. I was captivated from beginning to end. It's a lot of fun. I'm a huge horror fan and a huge Sam Raimi fan, and I thought that he brought something unique to this particular Marvel film that we haven't seen before. It's really scary at times, super intense, And the Elizabeth Olsen performance really pushes this up a notch or two. I thought she was terrific in this. So in the end, my rating for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is an enthusiastic 8 out of 10. And in terms of Oscar odds, I think this film will get one nomination next year for Best Visual Effects. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Did you like it as much as I did, or were you disappointed? See you next time.